Okay, so in this lecture, we are going to see the ARM architecture. Okay, so the agenda for the lecture is a comparison of RISC versus CISC. Then compare your von Neumann versus Harvard bus architecture. Then to see some introduction to your ARM, that is some ARM history. Then we are going to use RISC type of architecture. So you have to see some key RISC features. Then why to use ARM. Okay, the long form of ARM that we know that this is advanced RISC machine. That means this particular architecture uses the RISC type of architecture. Then we have to see what is ARM7 TDMI nomenclature. Then we have to see the architecture of ARM, uh, different register sets available in the ARM, that also we have to see. Then there are two types of status register. One is called as a current program status register and another is called as a saved program status register. So these are the status register that will give you the status of your any result or any current operation, like your flag register in 8051. Then you have the operating modes of processor. So there are 7 operating modes of processor called as a privileged and unprivileged mode of processor. And then you have to see what is a banked register concept. Okay, so this is what the basic agenda for this lecture. uh, so most of the points I have covered in last lectures also. Okay, so very important comparison is of different types of your architecture. Okay, so in microprocessor and microcontroller there are two basic types of architecture that are widely used. One is called as a CISC architecture and another is called as a RISC architecture. Okay, so CISC is nothing but the complex instruction set computing, and RISC is called as a reduced instruction set computing. So first CISC is developed and then the new architecture called RISC is developed, that you have to remember. So RISC must have some of the very good advantages over the CISC. So first point of difference between the CISC and RISC is a different size of instructions. So CISC having variable size instructions with many formats. Okay, that means if CISC having 100 instructions, so this 100 instruction having a different variable size. That means these are not either 16-bit or 32-bit. So some of the instruction may be 8-bit, 16-bit, and 32-bit. Okay, so that's why there are many formats. However, in RISC, all the instructions are 32-bit. So fixed size instructions, 32-bit instructions mostly with few formats only. So this is what the first advantage of RISC over the CISC. Second different point of difference is nothing but the multi-clock complex instructions. So it requires the multiple clock cycles. That is, CISC requires multiple clock cycles for the execution of your instructions. So this is a some complex task. And then what is the advantage of the RISC? RISC uses a single clock. Okay, so it will reduce the instructions. The third point of comparison is CISC will work on memory to memory load and store instructions. Okay, whereas RISC will work on a register to register load and store architecture. Okay, so what is register to register and what is a memory to memory? So working on a memory is costly. Okay, what do you mean by costly? Means it requires more time for the execution. However, if you put your data into the register, then it is very easy to access that data and perform the operations. So that's why register to register load store architecture is more advantageous than the memory to memory load store architecture. The next point is a small code size, high cycles per second. So in CISC you have small code size. However, in RISC the code size is very large. Okay, but low cycles per second. Okay, then CISC is always having an emphasis that is focus on hardware complexity. Okay, so in CISC architecture, those scientists have focused on the hardware complexity because they are expert of hardware. But right now, the more focused is on the software. So rather than making hardware more complex, why not to make your software more complex, because it is easy to handle. Okay, and if you try to make your hardware somewhat complex, then it is very difficult to change the hardware if you want to change your application. Next point is increased hardware cost. In CISC, the hardware cost get increased because for every application you have to modify your hardware, whereas at RISC you have to modify only the software. Okay, so that's why it is a reduced hardware cost. Then CISC is more complex and operate at lower frequencies. So this is called as a complex instruction set. So that's why it is more complex compared to the RISC, and also it operates on lower frequency. That is, the speed of execution of CISC architecture is very less compared to the RISC. Now, RISC, what is the advantage of RISC? RISC is simpler in architecture and can operate at very high clock frequency. That means the speed of execution of RISC is very high compared to the CISC. Now, this is the reason why RISC architecture is widely used and widely popular in microprocessor and microcontroller. So that you have to remember. I hope you have understood the first point, that is advantages of the RISC architecture over the CISC architecture. Okay. Now, second part that we have seen, that is Von-Neumann and Harvard architecture. So these are nothing but the bus architectures. Okay. So there are two types of buses we have. One is called as a program and another is called as a data. Okay. So in any processor or microcontroller, there are two types of memories. One is called as a program memory and another is called as a data memory. Okay. So program memory contains the instructions and data memory contains the variables. Okay, so that is also you have to remember. That is what is the use of program memory and what is the use of the data memory. So now, how to assess this program memory and data memory by your CPU? So depending upon the access taken by your CPU, okay, with this program and data memory, there are two types of basic bus architecture. So first is called as a Von-Neumann architecture and another is called as a Harvard architecture. Now, what happened in Von-Neumann architecture? Your CPU will try to fetch the data from program and data memory, okay, by using a single address and data bus. Okay, that means your program memory and data memory are separate. So it is expected it should have a separate data bus and address bus. Okay, but in Von-Neumann architecture, you have common address bus and data bus, okay, in between program and data memory. Okay, so for example, I have to access the some code from the program memory, so I can access, but at that time I cannot access the data memory. So now that is what the problem, that is at any time I can access either program memory or data memory, since we have a common address bus and data bus. So that is what the problem with the Von-Neumann architecture. Okay. So now second architecture is called as the Harvard architecture. Now what happened in Harvard architecture? You have CPU, you have separate program memory and data memory, and also for each program memory and data memory having its own address bus as well as the data bus. That means each program memory having separate address bus and data bus, as well as data memory is also having separate address bus and data bus. Okay, now what is the advantage with this separate data address bus and data bus? That means simultaneously your CPU can fetch the program memory as well as data memory. So overall operation becomes faster if you use the Harvard architecture, and overall execution or operation becomes somewhat slower if you use the Von-Neumann architecture, because it uses a common address and data bus between the program memory and data memory. Okay, so that is what you have to understood. Okay, so Von-Neumann having common bus for data and instruction, whereas Harvard architecture having a separate bus for data and instruction. Okay, so this is what the second point. I hope you understood the second point. Now the third point is a ARM history. Okay, so ARM is a advanced risk machine. We know that. Okay, but how this ARM company get established? Okay, or how it get evolved by time. So that is what some history about the ARM. So what happened in 1970? Memories was costly. Okay, so compact instruction set was required, because since the memory was costly, so you have to design architecture which having a very small or reduced set of instructions. Okay, so to replace 6502 in BBC computers, and what is the task? So that time in BBC computer, this 6502 types of processors are used, and this ARM has to replace this particular architecture, okay, from 6502. So there's only four-man VLSI team, design team, that is used to design this particular ARM architecture. Okay, and since it's only four-man team, so its simplicity comes from the inexperienced team. Okay, so we have seen the advantage of risk, that it is a simple in architecture. Okay, why it's simple? Because they are thinking, they don't know about the CISC type of architecture. So when they think about these types of architecture, they comes with a very simple terms. Okay, so match this particular ARM match the needs for generalized SoC called as a system on chip for reasonable power, performance, and die size. Okay, so basically it is developed between 1983 to 1985 by Acorn Computers. Okay, so the first name of this ARM is the Acorn Computers, and right now it is changed to the ARM Private Limited. Okay, so this is what the history. So it is founded in November 1990 and spun out as Acorn Computers. Right now, it designs the ARM range of RISC processor cores only. Okay, just remember, it will design only the cores. That is, the internal design of your IC is designed by the ARM, whereas the actual fabrication of your ARM ICs is done by some another partners. Okay, so it licenses ARM core designs to another semiconductor partners who fabricate and sell to their customers. Okay, so ARM does not fabricate silicon itself. This is what very important point. Okay, remember, ARM, like, it is like Intel. So Intel does not fabricate the ICs, rather than it will generate only the designs. Okay. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so right now this ARM So right now, ARM develop different technologies to assist with the design in of the ARM architecture. That means right now ARM is in the design of different software tools, different development boards, debug hardware, different application softwares, bus architectures, and peripherals. Okay, so it is not only designing the processor, but it will design a lot of things. So now this shows the partners of your ARM. So right now ARM will work with these kinds of different worldwide partners. Okay, in particular segment. Okay, for example, first is ARM in partnership with this different types. Okay, then it having RTOS partners, then it having software partners, then it having tools partners. Okay, ATAP partners. So there are different fields in different fields or areas, and your ARM has partnered in those different areas and have working in the design and development of these different applications, processors. Okay, different boards, software tools. Okay, now why to study this ARM? Because in our household we are using different embedded systems, okay, and that are get powered by the ARM microcontroller or microprocessor starting from our mobile. So we have our mobile, then we have washing machines, then microwave oven, television set, okay, pagers, that is in home only. If you go in another areas like in our education system, you can observe even your printers, okay, all hard disks, then your TV, dish TV or whatever the set top boxes, okay, computers, hard disks. So you just list out all these are the different products that are get powered by the ARM only, okay. So that is the reason why we have to study the this particular ARM architecture or ARM based microcontroller families or devices. Now we have seen that is the next point, that we have to see some of the key features of your ARM architecture. Okay. So first feature of your ARM architecture is this one, that is all the instructions are fixed 32-bit instruction size with few formats. Then your ARM7 will use a load store architecture. Okay. Now what is load store architecture? You have to understand the meaning of load and store. So load means you have to load the content from memory to register. That means you have to copy the contents from memory to register. This process is called as load. And store means you have to copy the contents from register to memory. Okay, this is called as a store. So this is called as a load store architecture. And why it is required? Processor operate on data held in register, because working on register values is easy, because that are easily available and it requires less time. Okay. Since memory accesses are costly in CISC architecture, okay, so we have to use the this register to register architecture. Why this is so? Because we can use data items held in the register bank multiple times without needing multiple memory access. Okay, that means if you have to fetch the same data from memory, so every time you have to go to that memory and fetch the data. But if you put that data in a register, you can take that data at any time. So these access times are reduced in risk or ARM based devices. So that is the reason why all ARM will use this load store architecture only. The next feature, third feature, is a large register bank. Okay, so RISC architecture having a large register banks, it having a high performance. Okay, high performance means that is it will execute a mega instructions per seconds. Okay, and due to less development cost, all new companies adopted RISC for their design. Okay, so most of the companies are using this ARM based development boards, okay, because of their less development cost. Now that is what the advantage. Now there are 37 registers available in ARM7 of 32-bit integer register. However, 16s are available at any time. Okay, and this is pipeline as a three-stage pipeline. If you are using ARM7 family, so it is called as a three-stage pipeline. Okay, so what is pipeline concept? Pipelining is nothing but breaking your particular task into different segments. Okay, so rather than completing the whole task by a single person, why not to chop that task into three parts and let these three part to three persons. They will execute this task, okay, much more faster compared to the single person. So that is what the basic concept of pipeline. Then catch, depending on the implementation, it uses von Neumann type bus architecture. That is what I have told. So ARM7 uses von Neumann type of bus architecture, which uses common address and data bus, whereas Harvard architecture having a separate address and data bus for program memory and data memory. So this type of architecture is used in ARM9 type of processors. Okay. We can work on 8-bit, 16-bit or 32-bit data types by using ARM7. It having seven modes of operations called as a multi-threaded architecture. Okay, called as a USR, user fast interrupt request, supervisor control, abort, system, and undefined. So these are the 7 different operating modes of your ARM7. Now, why to select ARM7? Because of this simple statement. So it is a simple structure. Okay, that means ARM7 is just having a simple structure. It having a reasonably good speed power consumption ratio. That means it will give you the maximum performance at a very less power. Okay, something like your bike. That means your mileage should be high. Okay, it will cover most of the distance with a less fuel consumption. So likewise, ARM7 also provides you a very high performance but at a very less power consumption rate. Okay, so this is the reason why ARM7 is used widely compared to your 8051 PIC, okay, or other devices. Now, one more feature of your ARM is a ARM having two types of instruction set. So most ARMs implement two instruction set. One is called as a 32-bit ARM instruction set, and so second is called as a 16-bit thumb instruction set. Okay. So by default, it will work in a ARM instruction set, that is, it will operate on 32-bit instructions. But if your instructions are not 32-bit, that are in 16-bit size only, so that time why to use 32-bit ARM instruction set? Okay, so that time you can switch from ARM instruction set to thumb instruction set, which would work on a 16-bit instructions only. So that will make your task faster compared to the ARM instruction set. So this is the reason. Okay. Now why ARM we have to use, I have explained, this is somewhat more explanation, that is one of the most licensed and the widespread processor cores in the world. Okay. It is widely used in the world in different applications, like used in PDA, personal digital assistant. It is used in cell phones. It is used in multimedia players, in handheld game console, digital TV and cameras. ARM7 is used in GBA, iPod. ARM9 is used in NDS, PSP, Sony Ericsson, BenQ in these companies product. ARM11 is used in Apple iPhone, Nokia N93, N800. So 75% of 32-bit embedded processors are covered by ARM. Okay, means in the world, about 75% of embedded processors are covered by ARM only. Okay, so this is the reason why we have to study the ARM processor. Now, what is the advantage of this ARM? It is used especially in portable devices. What is portable devices? Like your mobiles. Due to its low power consumption, it will consume a very less power and still provide a very reasonable performance. So what is a reasonable performance? Called as a MIPS, mega instructions per seconds per watt. Okay, so this is very good feature, or called as an excellent feature of your ARM7. Then we come across this particular term called as the nomenclature of your ARM7 TDMI. That is, what is ARM7 TDMI? So this is one of the favorite questions of your examiners in oral also and in campus also. So ARM7 that we know, ARM7 means Advanced RISC Machine. 7 is called as a core of the your processor. T for thumb instruction set. Okay, that means T means thumb instruction set. That means this particular product can work on a 16-bit instructions also. Then D means this one, debug interface. You have JTAG or IC breaker called as a joint test action group and in circuit emulator breaker. So it is used for debugging your interface. Then you have M for a multiplier. So this ARM7 core has enhanced multiplier, 32-bit multiplied by 8. So 32 into 32, the result of multiplication is 64-bit result. And this particular block is hardware. Okay. So if I ask you whether the software is fast or the hardware is fast, okay, so you might give the answer that software is fast. Okay, but it is a wrong answer. Your hardware is always faster than the software. So rather than using a software, if I put a hardware block into the IC directly, so my overall execution speed also increases. Since multiplication is somewhat very tedious task, so if I do it softwarely, it requires more time. So I will add a hardware block which will make my multiplication faster. So that is one of the best feature of your ARM7. Here, the multiplier, enhanced multiplier, is directly embedded into your IC itself. And last one is I. So I is nothing but the core has embedded IC in circuit emulator logic. Okay, so you can emulate your circuit or also the instructions are programmed by using this facility. So this is all about the nomenclature of ARM7 TDM. Now there are two most popular ARM architecture available in the market. One is called as ARM7 TDMI and another is called as ARM9 TDMI. So these are the most popular architectures of your ARM family. Out of that, ARM7 TDMI having three pipeline stages. Okay, that means three tasks can be executed at any time. One of the most used ARM version for low-end system. Okay, so here to use it. Okay, for low-end system, we are using this ARM7 TDMI. Now here to use ARM7 TDMI. So ARM9 TDMI. This architecture is very much compatible with ARM7. Means both are very much similar to each other. Okay, but certain changes. So first change is ARM9 having a 5 pipeline stages. That means 5 tasks can be executed at any simultaneously, rather than 3 pipeline stages of ARM7. And also ARM9 uses the hardware architecture. That means it will use a separate instructions and data cache or data bus for program memory and data memory. So this will make your ARM9 more faster compared to the ARM7, because ARM7 uses the whole Neumann architecture, that is common address and data bus for program and data memory. Okay, I hope you have understood these two popular ARM architectures, ARM7 and ARM9. Is it fine up till now? Are you getting the things? All these points I have explained in the previous lectures also. Okay, so just to continue the flow, I have just refresh all these concepts once again. Are you getting the things? If you are getting the things, or if you have any questions, okay, you can ask, or you can put into the chat box. Okay, it will be the better option. Onkar, if you have any questions, please. Janki Asalkar, Gaikwad, Sherke, Gogre, if you have any questions, put into the chat box. If you are getting the concepts, just type yes. I will continue to the next point. Okay, from Pratiksha Gogre, I have got only yes. What about other? Okay. Okay, so that's great. So I will continue to the next point. The next point is nothing but the architecture of ARM. So this particular point is asked for 5 marks. Draw the architecture of ARM 7 and explain each block. Okay, so you can observe in the architecture of this ARM, there are different blocks. First block is called as a data. Okay. Okay, so first block is called as a data. So what is data? So there are two types of data. One is called as the actual data, or another is called as the your instructions. Okay, for example, let add a comma b. Okay, so here this is the instructions only. Okay, or if I write something like this, move a comma hash ff. Okay, ffx. Now this is called as the data. Okay, so data may be two types. One is called as the actual data, and another is called as the instructions data, or called as a mnemonics. Okay, so this is called as a mnemonic. So if at this point, this is the entry point of this architecture, if this is data, it is directly given to this particular hardware called as a sign extend hardware. Whereas if it is the instructions, it is directly given to the instruction decoder. Okay, what is the function of instruction decoder? Is to decode the meaning of the instruction. For example, add. So what do you mean by add? So the meaning of add AB, that means add the contents of register A with the register B and store the result into the register A. Now this is called as the decoding of the instruction. So that is done by the instruction decoder. Okay. Now another data is the actual data. So now your actual data may be of different types. Okay, so it may be of 8-bit data. Okay, it may be 8-bit, it may be 16-bit, it may be 32-bit. Okay, so we know that ARM can operate on 8-bit, 16-bit and 32-bit types of operations. Now if your data is of 16-bit, okay, then it is always great, okay, to have a 32-bit of data. But if your data is of 8-bit or 16-bit, so that time you need to process that data through the sign extend hardware. So sign extend hardware is a hardware which is used to convert any unsigned your any unsigned or signed data, okay, which is not in the format of 32-bit. Okay, maybe it is 8-bit or 16-bit. So this kinds of data is converted into 32-bit. That means let at the input you have given 8-bit or 16-bit of data. Okay, so this sign extend hardware will convert this 8-bit or 16-bit data into 32-bit. Okay, I hope you have understood the use of this sign extend hardware. So sign extend hardware will convert this 8-bit or 16-bit of data into the 32-bit format. Okay, now this is over the use of this sign extend hardware. We have seen the instruction decoder. Okay, so sign extend hardware is used to convert your any data that is not in the proper format of 32-bit. Okay, so that kind of data is converted into the proper format of 32-bit, because ARM7 is of 32-bit processor. Okay, now this particular data is you have to store in some registers. Okay, so ARM7 having a register file. Okay, so what is the register file? Called as R0 to R50. That means now your ARM7 having a 16 registers: R0, R1, R2, R3, up to R15. Okay, so how many? So total 16 registers are there. Okay, so this is called as the register file. So register file is nothing but the set of registers from register R0 to R15. So total 16 registers are there. And what is the use of registers? The registers are used to store the data into these temporary registers. Okay, so that is what the use of the register. Now next is called as a RN and RM. These are called as a source registers. Okay, that is Rn and Rm, and this is called as bus A and bus B. Okay, so this particular is called as a bus A, this particular is called as a bus B. Okay, and this is called as a source register Rn, and this is also called as a source register Rm, Rn and Rm. Now we know that we have this common particular module called as a ALU. The name or long form of this ALU is arithmetic logical unit. So this arithmetic logical unit will perform a different arithmetic operations like addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. Okay, whereas the logical operation like not, okay, and, or, XOR, these types of operations are performed by the this logical unit. So this particular operations, that is arithmetic and logical unit operations, can be performed by this particular block. That is what the use of this ALU block. Okay, but now for this ALU we require the two inputs, one input from this bus A, one input from bus B. Okay, but if you observe, the one input, that is from one of the input from bus A, is directly given to the ALU, whereas another input from bus B is not directly given to the ALU. It is first given to the barrel shifter. Okay, so now this is one of the new concept. What is the use of this barrel shifter? So barrel shifter is nothing but a one type of block or device which is used to shift the given data, okay, by some location. For example, let you have this binary data 0 0 1 0. Okay, so now let I have to shift this data towards the right side by 1 bit. So I will shift this data. Okay, 1 will come at this point. Okay, then you have 0, then this 0. Okay, and I will append the 0, and this 0 will be discarded. Okay, that means this original data I have shifted by 1 bit to the right side. Okay, so this is called as a shifting operations. So such a type of rotate or shift towards the right side or shift towards the left side through the carry or without the carry. So this type of operations are performed by the barrel shifter. Okay, now what is the significance of this barrel shifter? You just observe. Okay, for example, again let I have 0 0 0 1. Now let I have to shift this particular bits, okay, this particular number by 1 bit towards the left side. I have to shift to this side. Okay, so if I shift this by 1 bit, so it becomes 0 1 0 0. Now what is the value? This value becomes 2. Okay, it is a 2. And what is this? This is a 1. Okay, so this is called as multiply by 2 operations. That means if I shift any bit towards the left hand side by 1 bit, it is called as the multiply by 2 operations. Okay, similarly, if I take another example 0 1 0 0, basically this is 4. Okay, but if I shift this operation 1 bit towards the right hand side, okay, so that time it becomes 0 0 1 0. So what is this value? This value is 2. So this is called as divided by 2 operations. Okay, so what is the significance of this barrel shifter? This barrel shifter is a block which will use to multiply by 2 or divide by 2. Okay, so this kind of operations or rotation operations or multiplication or division operations are directly done on the data by using this barrel shifter block. Okay, so this N is called as a pre-processed data. Okay, it is called as a pre-processed. Okay, pre-processed means the original data is not similar to the processed data. Okay, that means for example we have taken 4 at this point. Okay, we have get 4 at this point, and if you apply this barrel shifter to this particular 0 1 0 1 0 0, so you will get this operation. Okay, you will get this, that is the output of this barrel shifter will be 0 0 1 0. This is called as a divided by 2 operation. So that is what the role of barrel shifter. In simple word, you have to remember that barrel shifter is used to perform a shifting operations. Okay, shifting operations on one of the data. What do you mean by shifting operations? Shifting operations are nothing but shifting or multiplying by 2 or divide by 2. Okay, so this is what the inside the barrel shifter. So ALU will get one of the original data and it will get another data which is a pre-processed. Okay, that is get rotated. And these kinds of arithmetic logical operations will be performed on these two particular data, and the result is generated at this point. So whatever the result is generated, now you have to store that result into the register file using register RD. So RD is called as a destination result. Okay, so you have number of registers available into this register file, so you can copy the result of your arithmetic logical operations into one of the register. Okay, similarly if you are interested to write this result on the memory addresses, so that time you have to generate the memory address. So that memory address is generated by the address register. Okay, so address register will generate this particular address of your memory. Okay, and now just see, there is a one more flow that is shown as this one. So this is called as R15. So R15 is called as a PC. PC means program counter. Now what is the use of program counter? Program counter is used to indicate the address of the next instruction which is going to be executed. Okay, means for example, I have started from 0100. Okay, so what will the role of program counter? So it will always point to the next address of the instruction. So what is the next address of the instruction is this one. Okay, so that is what the role of this program counter. So here register R15 will work as a program counter. So this address is pointed by the program counter, and now there is one more block called as an incrementer. So incrementer, you know that it is used to increment the address of the your address register. Means for example, the first address is 100, the next address is 0101. Now what is the next one? It is a 110. Okay, likewise, so incrementer is used to increment the address of the memory by 1. Now this is read operation. Now once the arithmetic logical operation is performed, you have written the result into one of the register file, and now that result can be written over the memory. Okay, so this shows that the contents or the result from the register can be uploaded to the memory by using this fundamental. Okay, that is, you have to give the address. Here you have to write the data. For example, 0101. At this address, I have to write the my result, that may be let f e x. So this result is directly written to this memory address by using this particular mechanism. Okay, so this is the simplest architecture of ARM. Just see, nothing complex in this architecture. Simple blocks, data, instruction decoder, what is sign extend hardware, then register file, barrel shifter device, ALU, okay, address registers, and increment. However, there is one more block that is remaining, that is called as a MAC. Now what is MAC? MAC is called as a multiply and accumulate unit. Okay, multiply and accumulate unit means first it will multiply the two registers, okay, A and B. Just see, so for this MAC unit, you will get one data from the this file data bus A, and you will get the another data from the bus B. Okay, and these two data are multiplied to each other. Okay, and then you are able to add the third register into this two. Okay, that means you first multiply A by B. Okay, and also you are able to add some another registers. Okay, another registers, let register number 3. So whatever the contents of register 3 is added to the multiplication result. Okay, so this is the total result R. So R equal to, first multiply the register A and B, and then you can add, accumulate means addition. You are able to add another register to the result. So this MAC unit is used for this purpose, to multiply these two numbers from the bus A and bus B, and also it will add another registers into this multiplication result. Okay, and the whole result is then copied into some register, and that is get uploaded to the memory by generating the address from the address decoder, and whose address is pointed by the R15, which is the program counter. Okay, so this is the simplest architecture even I have seen, okay, to explain and also to understand. Okay, so whole process I have given here. Okay, so all the theoretical background is provided in the slides for your convenience. Okay, that is a function of each and every block. Okay, 230. Are you getting this architecture of ARM? I hope I have explained in very simple words. If you understood, just give me some confirmation you understood. If you are not understood, let me know. No, I have not understood. Okay, so I have 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, I will not go for the next point, but I will just introduce you the next point. So the next point is the ARM7 register set. Okay, so basically ARM7 having 16 registers that I have explained. Register R0, R1, R2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, R13, R14, 15. So these are the 16 registers of ARM7, and there is a one more status register called as a CPSR, current program status registers. Okay, so I will explain this register set and also the CPSR. Okay, and the SPSR. Okay, so this is also very interesting. What is CPSR, SPSR registers? Okay, I will cover it in the next lecture.